goodness, what a great day it is here in the community. Thank you guys for being here today. I am so excited about this topic because anytime we get to increase our inventory game, it means we're doing more business and we're amplifying our business because listings are leverage. We all know that. And it's like, well, how do I take more listings? Well, the best way to learn how to do that is to talk to seasoned industry professionals, coaches, people who truly know what they're doing. And today, that's exactly what's up. We've got Heather Rich and Jessica Mills, two absolute top producers, superstars, leaders inside the community who are here today to share their knowledge and totally change the game for all of us. And I'm super excited that you guys decided to give some time to the community. Thanks for being here, guys.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see all of you today. A lot of these faces I'm recognizing from contracts class that we're doing on Wednesdays. It's great to see you here. Thank you so much for coming. Look at the Indy offices here. I love you guys. I'm not very far away. I should just go to their office sometimes, huh? do my thing from there. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Most of you know, but I want to do a quick little introduction. Good morning, Christine. She's a sunshine. My name is Heather Rich. I'm a principal broker in the state of Oregon. I've been licensed just 20 years now. I absolutely, positively love real estate and everything it's given me and my family. I spent 7 years as a managing broker at a local real estate office. And oh my gosh, do that once and don't do it forever. That's all I want to say. It was good learning experience, but oh my gosh, it's like when I taught kindergarten. Absolutely loved it while I was doing it, but when I was done, I was done. I was ready to move on. And thank God, Jeff and Lexi gave me this EXP opportunity, which is a whole other class about how that came about. But anyway, during my 20 years in real estate, I've served on the board of directors for the local realtor association. I've sold commercial property. I've sold a lot of new construction. I represented 5 different builders during the market crash and at one long point 4 at the same time. So I do have quite a bit of experience when it comes to listing appointments and the psychology of working with buyers and sellers. So I'm happy to share that with you. I also have been for 7 years now teaching real estate pre-license to in Oregon at Chemeketa Community College and Lane Community College now. I've substituted many times at Lynn Benton as well. So that's just, a little bit about me. The other end of it is I'm a mother to 6 children, 4 beautiful granddaughters, seasoned. Yeah. Look at this gray hair. It's going away today. I swear I'm going to fix this. Just been too busy. I love EXP. We have a group right now that has just been growing. I'm so thankful for the opportunity here. I say that because I call them my kids too. Everyone that I've sponsored and they sponsor. But I'm going to use that as a lead in to Mrs. Mills sitting here next to you. I know a lot about her. She was born on a beautiful and hot summer day in Eugene, Oregon at Sacred Heart Hospital. Some of you know it. I know it because I was her mother. I was there. From the day she was born, she's been my little shadow. She's been behind me. We spoke to a group last night. That's how busy we are. We literally spoke to another group last night. And I told them, Jessica may have only been licensed 4 years, but she's been doing real estate since she was 15. So do the math. That's like 11 years that she's been doing real estate. I like to
more than 11, but thank you.
I never am good with that math. I have too many kids.
Like 17.
Okay, I forget how old you are. Anyway, the wonderful thing about Jessica, though, she was the yearbook editor for her high school yearbook. And the reason I bring that up is she's been a marketing guru since the day she was born. She is incredible. That again, that's another class. But she's been able to watch me in my real estate career. And sometimes I hear her talk and it freaks me out because I'm like, those aren't my words. It's exactly what I would have said. She's been listening to me for a long time. So anyway, best partner in the world. Thank you, Jessica, for being here. And I'm going to turn off my phone so you can take all the texts and calls from your siblings while I teach this class and they wonder where I am and why I'm not answering my phone. It's so good to see all of you here. We've got almost 50 people here. Send out the reminders, get the word out that they need to get here, because I do believe that I have some really great golden nuggets for all of you today. When I was out driving around the past few, well, honestly, the past couple of months, there's a huge presence here in Northwest Oregon that really hadn't been in just till a few years ago. We are seeing EXP open signs everywhere on the weekends. I'm seeing EXP yard signs everywhere. Congratulations and good job to all of you. In the state office meeting yesterday in Oregon, they actually announced that we're getting more listings than ever, and we're seeing a lot more activity than ever. I just want to congratulate, because that's you guys. That's you guys out there doing the hard work. The reality is we have a little bit of competition out there, and while you're killing it, I think we could kill it even better. And one of the reasons that I got into mentoring in 2013 and teaching classes to new and experienced agents other than this was that I knew we could do better. There were agents out there flailing. They were not getting the support. They were not getting the training. They just didn't have the information. So when I was given that opportunity to do that here with my group, and then triple it by being able to do it with Jeff and Lexi, it's an incredible kind of place for me to be, because my heart has always been to give us all better opportunities, to make us better real estate brokers, and to get rid of that kind of thing out there in the world that real estate agents are like attorneys and lawyers and ambulance chasers or whatnot. We're real professionals, and I want that out in the community. And we do that by the way we present ourselves and the way we act and the way we treat the community, right? I'm gonna hold on a second. I will not lose my voice. So I'm gonna get right into, Jessica's helping me with the slides today. There's Hannah's baby. She's going to be the best realtor in the world because she comes to all of my training. I'm just telling you, we're starting in Heather Rich's downline right now. Bring those babies to classes. I love it. And I love that you're here, Hannah. Lots of people make excuses. Hannah never makes excuses. She shows up even if she's got a baby on her back and one in her arms. I love it, Hannah. One of the things that I wanted to start out, you guys are like, okay, tell me how to win the listing appointment. But what I have found is a lot of you don't know or understand your value. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Jessica, you can go ahead and start the share. Are you having a... It wouldn't be a class of mine via Zoom if we didn't have a little pickle with the share.
We're getting it. It just had a little bit of a glitch and my internet glitched out, but we're back.
Well,
can you see it?
Can we... There we go. So today we're going to talk about how to make those listing appointments a success and win every time. And you're going to be surprised because you do watch a lot of videos and a lot of training and classes. I'm going to kind of tie the best together that I've found. Okay, go ahead, Jess. There we are. You've heard it. And if you haven't heard it, you should know it. This should be imprinted in your heart. Listers are lasters. One of the things that I absolutely cringe when I hear, and I'm sorry it's going to make some of you mad, is I'm a buyer's agent. Oh my goodness. I'm going to tell you, and it hurts, and this is me being a mom. So I say things that hurt sometimes. Everyone who has said that in my 20 years in real estate doesn't last in real estate. They're gone too soon. They realize real quickly they better turn themselves into a listing agent. It's okay to represent buyers. We love buyers. They're the icing on the cake. They're the best. But let's be honest here, they're a whole lot of work. And no one gets to market them that they're working with a buyer right now. right? We're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a second. When you have a listing, know and understand that seller is contractually obligated to you. A buyer's not. A buyer can decide tomorrow they don't want to work with you anymore. And if you think a buyer broker agreement is going to keep that buyer loyal to you, you're wrong. Again, I'm going to say things that are going to upset you, but I'm only here to tell you the truth, and the truth does hurt sometimes. If you do try to uphold one of them, what's going to happen in 2023, Jessica? If you tell a buyer, sorry, you signed an agreement with me, you're going to pay me a commission or you're going to work with me.
They're going to blast you on social media and everywhere they can on the internet.
And what happens to things that go on the internet?
They stay forever.
Forever. They never go away. When a seller signs a listing contract with you, they are contractually obligated to work with you. And to me, in a very different way. When you sit down with a seller that's unhappy, you can actually spend more time with them talking about why. And a good listing presentation will avoid any of those issues later, which we're going to actually get to. So I just said buyers are a lot of work. Oh my God, I respect buyers agents. If that's what they want to call themselves, I respect all of you who are working with buyers right now. I do have to have a little vent moment because I get the podium. In Northwest Oregon, if you're a real estate broker and you are out there blasting on your social media that it is a buyer's market, you are absolutely positively blasting that you're a new agent because you've never worked in a buyer's market. It is not a buyer's market in Northwest Oregon right now. I'm not sure in the other states. I honestly don't pay a lot of attention, but I have almost 80 agents in my downline, and we're getting multiple offer situations back and forth, left and right. Maybe if we're over 500,000 and 700,000, we're not getting quite as many multiple offers, but we're seeing them there too. This is not a buyer's market. It's getting close to 50-50, but it's still very much in Oregon a seller's market. Why? Inventory is dreadful still. It's still very low. We still have more buyers than we have homes to sell them. So that's my small little bit. As a listing agent, you control more of your time. When you have a buyer, how many of you, and you can speak up here, but how many of you got a call during dinner time this week from a buyer who all of a sudden went from warm to hot, and I've got to see that house tomorrow. I want to see it at 7 o'clock in the morning. Or I want to see it this weekend when you already have plans to be out with another buyer, or heck, it's your wedding day. I had an agent from another office call me yesterday. I just had a huge price reduction on one of my listings. My seller's moving to Japan. He's like, let's just sell it. I can comp that sucker to $625, and I've got it listed right now at $510. We're getting a lot of activity. And an agent called me last night and he said, I'd like to show your home on Sunday. And I said, listen, I just reduced that price on Friday. I'm getting a lot of activity. I don't know that it's going to still be available Sunday. Can you come sooner? I can't. I'm actually gone for spring vacation with my family. And I've tried to get someone in my office to come and show that home, and no one's available. The reality is he could very well lose that buyer. Of course, for my seller, I said, I'll show it. So I'm going to show it tonight at 5:30 for him. But how many of us have had a buyer run our lives? I saw a complaint on Facebook yesterday about a buyer saying that their agent wasn't showing them homes, that they were doing all the work. You and I know in reality, that's not true. There's just not much out there to show them in Northwest Oregon, but at the same time, they're blasting the agent that they're working with over it. Another reason working with buyers is tough right now. Listings give you the opportunity, hear this and write this down and circle it, to market yourself, to set yourself apart as a professional, to shine and be and show what you really are and what you can do. Professional photography, that's a no. You have to do it. There's no other way. When you're talking about marketing a home, oftentimes we think about just the home itself, but what you really need to understand is that when you're marketing that home, especially if it's your own listing, you're marketing yourself as a professional in what you do. If your photography is clearly taken from your phone, I wish I could share it. I have a picture right now, literally of a Willamette Valley MLS. The real estate agent is taking a picture of the bathroom with his cell phone. This is the worst of the worst. I'm going to share it in my group later. He's taking a picture of the bathroom with his cell phone. He's in the picture dressed like a slob, by the way, which is another topic we're going to talk about today. And the toilet seat's up, not just the toilet seat, the seat, whole thing, the cover, the seat up in the picture on the MLS. And to add insult to injury, there's an empty toilet paper roll on the counter. I don't know about you guys, but that's something that'll send this mom into, freak out mode. Reload the toilet paper, you guys. Reload it. Anyway, your listings give you an opportunity to market who you are as a professional. It shows your marketing ability. It shows that you're smart. It shows that you do everything your best every time. If your listing is a manufactured home in a park that's $40,000, I don't care. You have professional photography done, and you have professional verbiage and marketing completed. Realtors, another reason, I'm sorry, my notes got messed up here. Farming. Getting listings in your farm area is going to give you more listings in your farm area, correct? Well, it also gives you the ability to market yourself there in that farm. When you're out there door knocking and you have a listing in the neighborhood, when you're out there with your extras that you pay for, the bulletin boards at the baseball games and those things, the more neighborhood recognition you get in that farm, when they're not just getting those letters or those recipe cards from you or the little flowers dropped off on the front door, but they actually see your signs with your name on them out there in that neighborhood, of course, that's going to help you in your business. Lastly, listers that are lasters know their value. They know that they have the knowledge. They know that they have the ability to represent those sellers to their highest and best. We forget that sometimes as real estate brokers, what our value is. That's slide 2. Jessica, you want to hop on over? You cannot go to a listing appointment without confidence in what you do and expect the seller to be confident that you can do the job. You just can't. So before we get into killing it in that listing appointment, I want to remind you of what benefits you have, what you bring to the table when you meet with someone who's considering selling their home. Number 1, buyers work with realtors. We all know it. It's the biggest investment of their life. And it's free. It doesn't cost them anything. The second that you're at the coffee shop on Saturday morning and you mention out loud for others to hear that you're thinking about buying a house, what happens? Everyone knows a real estate broker. They're handing you their business card. They're giving them their phone number. Why? Because we love to help. It's the nature of being a human being. They may not have even really liked the real estate broker, yet they're still going to give them that real estate broker's name, phone number, contact information. Buyers work with realtors. I hardly, in 20 years, I could think of maybe 2 or 3 times where a buyer has come to an open house and said, I don't want to use a realtor. I think I'll save money if I do. The public, most of the public is educated to know and understand it's the seller. I don't take that for granted, but that they're getting paid by them. Okay. Realtors have a large network. When you list your property, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, not only do you have access to me, but you have access to the other agents in the MLS systems. And let me tell you what a multiple listing system is. For some verbiage for you guys that wouldn't be for them, but just for you as agents, understand that when you list a property, you are you're marketing that property first and foremost to other real estate brokers. The Willamette Valley MLS requires that you get those listings on within 24 hours of them being signed, right? Jessica, help remind me, and we could be a little off. In our area in Oregon, we have 2 primary MLS systems. The Willamette Valley MLS currently has, I want to say about 3,500, but I could be very wrong. I meant to check that number. It's close.
It's close. It's going down though the last several weeks. So
yeah, those dues came due. And then the RMLS, guys, help me out on RMLS. Like 14,000.
we were up close to 20,000 on RMLS at one point. Again, some of that's going down.
Okay, before you quote those figures to anyone, go ahead and get that information. If anyone can before we're done today, that'd be awesome. But making sure that you know and understand, and your sellers as well, working with a realtor is going to give you access to all of them as well. The great thing about working with them is that most real estate agents that are working with buyers qualify them. You're not getting someone that's showing up off the street saying, sure, I want to buy your house, and then finding out 5 days after you've been in contract, they really can't, or that they're a real jerk, which is another huge thing. You don't have anyone to buffer you as a seller from them knocking on your door in the middle of dinner or on Easter Sunday. Realtors have that large network. We weed out unqualified buyers. We become a buffer between the seller and the buyer. You don't think about it often enough when in our job, how difficult it would be for the seller to have to deal with that buyer and that buyer's agent that you're talking to right now. A lot of sellers would say, screw this, I'm done, I'm not selling my house, go away. And then they don't know how to get out of the contract, which is a whole other issue. Real estate agents understand disclosure laws. They also carry errors and omissions insurance. A lot of sellers don't understand the weight they are taking on when they sell their properties themselves. When I talk to sellers about property disclosure laws in Oregon, they're blown away because they didn't know. Not knowing, I'll tell you, ignorance of the law does not mean that you don't have to follow a law. And a police officer actually told me that when I was speeding one day. It's still a law, it's still a rule, and it doesn't matter that you don't know. We remove the emotion. There's a lot of emotion when it comes to selling your home. And I'm going to tell you right now, people think with investment properties or new construction, there's not. I can tell you for a fact there's more. When a home builder or an investor purchases a property and they're building it or they're remodeling it, guess what, you guys? Home builders know this right now, are artists. They have an artist's heart. They're creators. They love building and making beautiful things. And you know what? They absolutely positively have heart and pride in their work. We know a home seller does as well. When you're dealing with a buyer, it can get really awkward at times. When you did that beautiful finish on a home or you built those beautiful built-ins and suddenly that buyer's like, oh, those are ugly, those are coming right out, and you're standing there going, I want you to know, I tried to sell my own, well, I did sell my own house not too many years ago. And I did the most stupid thing, you guys. I held my own open house. It was devastating. I had a custom built home by Jess Alway out of, I don't know if any of you know him. He's a very long time builder out of Central Oregon. And he custom built my home. And every step of the way, he went over plans with me for this finish or that finish, or what did I think of this, or could he recommend that? And that house was a loving creation of him and I together. And then I held my first open house, and it was horrible because people hated some of those things, and it was really hard to hear. As a real estate broker, we can take that out of the picture. We can take dealing with difficult buyers out of the pictures. One of the things I point out oftentimes to people thinking about selling without a realtor is, so what happens if you run into that gentleman? You spelled benefits wrong, Jessica. when you run into that gentleman or woman, this is mother-daughter time, guys, sorry, at the grocery store or at church 2 weeks later or 3 months later after you've had difficult negotiations. Or what if you sold them that house and something went wrong a month or two after and you run into them at the grocery store? I've heard of that happening. Can that be difficult? Yes, absolutely. Another reason that we have that value. The biggest one, it's the biggest transaction of your life. It absolutely probably is your most valuable possession. I had a surgery recently, and I know you've heard it before, but when you've been through a pretty major medical issue and you put this into where you can really think about it, you know, it becomes a real big deal, a much bigger deal to you. When you know that you're going to have to go through a major surgery, who do you want doing that surgery? The best. You don't want the doctor in the ER doing that surgery. I don't want to go to Mexico to have surgery. Some of you have and do, and that's been great for you, and that's wonderful. But I really want to know that I'm getting the highest and best when I'm going to have surgery on my body, which should be the most important thing in my life. But second to our physical health and in our investment in our future, definitely is going to be our home. People use real estate brokers that understand that and understand that value. Any questions so far?
Not a question, Heather, but I just was thinking about how what you were saying kind of goes into the whole conversation option when somebody is already doing or interviewing or thinking they're going to be working with a particular listing agent, and you'd like an opportunity to get in there and give them a second opinion. So yep. That language can also get you in the door.
You're right. Absolutely. Thank you, Christine. These are just reminders. You thought you were going to come for a great listing appointment information. I am going to give it. I'm going to give you my rundown of how I do a listing appointment, but I want to make sure you understand your confidence is key. It truly is the gold that's going to help you get that listing. And I want to say it again. They used to say back when I was a new agent, fake it till you make it. Well, some of us aren't good at that. Some of us are just not good at faking it. So how do you prepare for that? Jessica, next. How do you get confidence? The 5 P's. By the way, my husband informed me last night there's 6 P's, but I'm not going to say the bad word. I'm just not going to say it. It's unprofessional. If you guys know the 6th P, be quiet about it. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. I don't care what I'm going to do any particular day, but I'm going to make sure I'm prepared for it, especially when it comes to my job. A lot of us go to listing appointments and make a huge mistake is we don't prepare. We get our listing paperwork together, we get our CMA together, we get all of these things together, but we forget some really important factors. And these guys have gotten me listings. So again, put your cell phone down, quit looking at your Facebook, listen up, there's some gold. Be the neighborhood expert. How do you be the neighborhood expert when you're going to list a house down in Brookings, Oregon, and you've only been there once driving through? You start to learn about Brookings, Oregon. I mean, I wouldn't list in Brookings, by the way, that's too far away. But if I'm going to be the neighborhood expert, there's things that I need to know. I want you to think about it as if you, the listing agent, are the one moving your family to that house. What are some key points that you're going to want to know? You're going to know where the best shopping is. You're going to want to know what the schools are and where they're located. You're going to want to know where the parks are, other services. I get so many buyers that will ask me where a good hairdresser is. Who's a great landscaper in the area? Where's the neighborhood hangout? In my neighborhood, there's a whole bunch of us 45 and over We call it church. We go to the bar every Saturday morning for breakfast. Some of us drink, a lot of us don't, but it's kind of just a kind of a thing that I can tell people who are moving to my neighborhood that are my age or older and said, hey, a great way to meet people. Go down to this bar on Saturday mornings. We're all there hanging out and we love to meet new neighbors. Become that neighborhood expert in that area as if you were the one moving into that house. It's gold, you guys. If you don't have that information, you can get it from the seller, or you can actually go to that grocery store and you can find out that the Roths in Silverton, Oregon has an amazing deli. And you can recommend that to people that are coming to your open house. You can talk about the park that's right next door to the school just down the road. I have a beautiful listing right now in South Salem that just going to the listing itself, you wouldn't necessarily know there were two gorgeous new neighborhood parks really within walking distance. There's a pond down the street that you can't really see from the road, but it's there. And with that pond comes the most beautiful frog sounds at night. I love frog sounds. I'm a country girl. I also know that I've been in that neighborhood multiple times during different times of the day. While there may be a middle school just a couple blocks away, daytime traffic can be pretty busy with that middle school, but I also know on the weekends and in the summer, it's quiet. It's a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. Get to know that neighborhood that you're listing in. Also, another big mistake that realtors make and get caught off guard, and I know all of us that are experienced brokers know this, when you go to the listing appointment and you're talking to the seller and they bring up the home down the street that sold a few months ago and you do not have it on your CMA, you have no information, you don't have a clue about that property. Why? Because when you were doing a CMA, you were looking at homes built between 1995 and 2005. You were looking at homes that were 3,000 square feet or bigger. You were looking at homes with similar amenities. Location slowly went, out the window there when you start breaking it down. But you may have an infill home that's newer construction. Your sellers don't know. They don't understand. All they know is Larry down the street sold that house for $525,000, which, by the way, Larry lied. That's another one. Larry loved to tell his neighbor that. When you have that information about the other properties that have sold in the neighborhood and they ask you about it, or you have the ability to bring that home up to them in conversation, they're going to go, whoa. I've sat here and interviewed 3 real estate brokers today, and no one knew about Larry's house. And you just told me the reason is because Larry's house is 20 years older, but it's been remodeled. It's very nice. You also told me that Larry's house is 3,500 square feet. Mine's 2,500. I had no idea. It doesn't look that big from the road. You also told me that Larry actually got 475 and it actually closed 8 months ago. When you have that knowledge about other solds in the properties and not just your direct comps, again, it's going to set you apart. You have to do this preparation, guys, to set yourself over and above. Just even this little bit of knowledge will get you the listing, no matter if you screw up the whole rest of the appointment. Okay. So I'm sorry, my notes got water spilled on them, so I had to rewrite them in a half an hour real quick this morning. I keep my notebook next to my bed. I don't know if any of you do that. Here's a really great thing for us that are aging real estate brokers. You have to keep a notebook next to the bed, because when you're laying in bed at night, all these things go through your head and you're scared to death you're going to forget them. Well, I did that, and somehow in the middle of the night I knocked my water over on my notes. So I have to read my chicken scratches this morning so I don't forget to tell you something wonderful. So homes not in the CMA, I'd go back at least a year. Sometimes, and I know in our market analysis, I'm not going back a year right now for comps, no way. But the area, I actually dictate them to my phone. That's a good idea, actually, Angie. Thank you. I just got a golden nugget because my phone's always near me, because I do have 5 of my 6 children grown and they don't live with me. So I have to keep it by me in case they need mom in the night. Thank you, Angie. That's awesome. But get to know, again, get to know that area, become a neighborhood expert, go back on your neighborhood sales that have happened at least in the last year. If they bring up a subject property that's older than a year old, you can tell them that. You know, I can say, I know you think that was 5 or 6 months ago, but I actually researched before I came here recent sales in your area, and that one didn't come up. But when I leave, I'm going to look it up and I'm going to get you that information. I have a feeling it actually sold more than 12 months ago. And heck, I'm going to call them back. I'm going to let them know. Okay. The subject property history. This is a thing I hate. I hate being at an open house and having a buyer walk in and say, well, how much did they pay for it? Well, that's none of That's none of your business. It doesn't matter. That's what I want to say. I don't say it. It doesn't matter what they paid for it. What they're selling it for is the value and the market value today. But when you're at a listing appointment, that's a great opportunity to come back to your client and say, you know, in my research, I found that this home actually was built new construction in 1956, and the original owners lived here for 20 years. It sold most recently before you bought it in 2004. It actually sold to the previous owner in 1984. And at that time, I actually saw that they did do an add-on to this property, or they got permits for this or permits for that. Do that research on your property as well, okay? When you go in and you're talking to them about the property, obviously we know the square footage. We can see some of the previews. Guess what, guys? If you go in and you put that property, and this is very 101, but all of you should be doing it. If you search that property in MLS, you can find previous listings. And almost always those previous listings, when you look at details, will give you questions to ask at the listing appointment. But it also can give you information. It can give you kind of a photographic view, even. Photographs, I just got in trouble for this. But it can give you a photographic view of what the house looked like before they bought it. So when you go into the listing appointment, you can actually see things they've upgraded or changed since they bought. And you can bring them up when you're talking to them. By the way, just a side note, if you're in the Willamette Valley MLS and you terminate a listing and you delete all the photos except for the first one, you're a bad person. I actually got a phone call about that. I should know better. I didn't. I won't do it again, I promise. But I had one of my agents terminate a listing and we removed all the photos, which used to be something we used to do. Well, you can't do that anymore. Squirrel side moment. When you are going to that listing appointment, you know, you're going to be taking your market analysis. I don't want to get too deep into a CMA because that's a whole hour and a half itself. But I want to tell you, when you're doing that CMA, don't make the mistake of only using RPR. There's actually EXP mentors out there that are teaching new licensees only to use RPR for their comps. Guys, we get paid a whole lot of money when that sale closes to dig in deeper. Jessica and I went back and forth on that. We've kind of come to an agreement that we're going to do comps through the local MLS system, and we're going to use RPR as an extra to help us. Yep, Angie says, Angie's one of my mentors in my group. She says RPR is secondary. It's definitely has value. I just took a listing out in McNary Estates, a golf course community in Salem, Oregon, and it was really hard to find good comps in the MLS system. Sometimes RPR can be very helpful. But again, I use it as a supplement. It's not the only place I get my market analysis. You can also call your local title company and get a list of recent sales as well that may not actually even be on the MLS. And if you live in the central Willamette Valley, and I'm sorry I keep referring to Oregon, but even in areas that you're in California or Florida, those are you that hear, you're going to run into this sometimes. The MLS systems may overlap, okay? So what I mean is you may have one MLS system that seems to be the primary, but then you have an agent from out of town that doesn't belong to the primary and lists it on theirs. So do that homework and make sure that you're bringing your market analysis from multiple sources before you put that together. Okay. When you're heading to your listing appointment, a couple things you should have with you: your lockbox and your sign. Isn't that presumptive? I don't go to a single listing appointment to not get the listing. That is part of the confidence that I have and that I've put in myself. I take that lockbox and sign, because when I leave, I'm going to have that listing paperwork mostly signed, which, by the way, I take it with me. We've gotten lazy in real estate because we have DigiSign and DocuSign, and I'll go ahead and I'll have my client sign later today. No, I'm going to get something signed before I leave. If it's the disclosed limited agency, if it's the pamphlet, I'm going to leave the property disclosures with them so they can review them. I'm going to get that listing contract signed though before I leave. Here's a side note for you guys, and we're going to talk about how to get that done later, but here's a side note from you. I know for a fact that the second I leave that listing appointment and they're like, yep, I'm listing my house with Heather Rich, there's no question, she's my girl. They go outside and they start mowing their lawn, and George and Jackie next door walk by, or Jeff and John walk by, or they go to lunch that afternoon at the community bar and say, yep, I'm selling my house. Guess what? They all know someone who wants to buy it. You can save on commission because my son wants to be my neighbor, and I'll just go ahead and help him so he can purchase your house. If you don't have that listing contract signed, guys, you could get screwed. Sorry, I did say a bad word. So get that signed before you leave. At the very least, the listing contract itself. You can resend everything else digitally, but take that paperwork with you. Don't make the mistake of showing up at that listing appointment without your sign, because the second I walk out the door, I have that contract signed. That sign's going in the yard. It's coming out of the back of my car and it's going up in that front yard when I leave. And then all the neighbors are going to talk to them, right? And they're going to be able to say, you can call my realtor. Okay. Next, slide 4. Maybe it's my age, but I really have gotten to a point in my life where I don't understand people who don't put their best first. And in real estate, there's 3 things that we are failing at right now. I've been going to open houses since I had my surgery in January. Those of you that have met me in the last year, I'm a new person. I may be 52, but I feel 32. I've gotten my life back, and I love real estate, and I love talking to real estate brokers. So I've been out going to open houses, and I've been visiting different open houses, not just for my crew, but other agents out there that I just happen to meet after the last 20 years. And there's something that I've noticed, and people blame it on the pandemic. That's dumb. Okay. Here's what I want to say. First and foremost, first impressions are huge. I saw agents at open houses in leggings with zip up sweatshirts, and I call them Jesus shoes. They're the shoes that I wore when I was in college in Eugene that you wear your socks with. What are they called? Birkenstocks. Doing an open house, you guys. No name tag, thank God, because I don't want anyone to know what company she works for. But sitting there at an open house, dressed that way, and this is what happened. I'm there looking at the house, and I'm dressed somewhat business casual because I'm going to open houses to talk about real estate. A buyer comes in and asks me. I'm not even the one working the open house. The buyer comes and talks to me. It had nothing to do that I was older. It had everything to do with how this agent was dressed. And it was sad for her because I know she needs a paycheck. And being dressed like that was definitely not helping her. Dress for the job that you want. I always say, not your current financial situation. You can go to Goodwill. And I know this because my 16-year-old daughter had a job interview. And every piece of clothing that she has holes in the jeans and sloppy sweaters and big sweatshirts and things that are absolutely not what you'd want to wear to a job interview. And She had $40 and the kid's proud. I love my girls. My son's a whole other story, but my 5 girls are proud. And they walk with the confidence in everything that they do. And Caitlin says, take me to Goodwill. I'm going to go get a jacket and I'm going to get some slacks I can wear. That girl walked out, spent $40. Jessica, what'd she walk out with? 5 nice pairs of business slacks. She didn't find the jacket. She also got some really cute fuzzy socks that I steal sometimes. They're really super cute. But anyway, four pairs for $40. I don't know any even brand new spanking real estate agent that can't go take cans back or go Uber for a couple hours and get $40 so they can go to Goodwill and buy pants. It's huge. Also, they have really cute shoes there, which I found. But there's no reason that you can't dress for success. That first impression that you're making on those prospective buyers or those prospective sellers is huge. We always talk about wearing the name tag. Of course, you need to wear the name tag. Absolutely. But think about what you're actually wearing. I get it all the time. People aren't paying attention. The pandemic, it's okay. We can be super casual these days. Yes, you can wear jeans and a cute sweater and boots and be business casual. I'm not saying that you have to wear black slacks and a button-up shirt. Absolutely not. But you guys know what I mean. If you need help with your wardrobe decisions, you can call me. I'll help you. When I was a new licensee, and again, this is 20 years ago, if you showed up at the office in flip-flops, you were asked to leave. Get out of here. To this day, I will not go to a listing appointment or work with a buyer in flip-flops. I have a whole mess in my office / closet, I call it, of clothes that I quickly flip in and out of when I know I'm going to meet with a client. Thong sandals, no, for sure. Now you can have really cute, and again, this is me being a mom, you can have really cute sandals, ladies. Don't wear them if you haven't had a pedicure or paid attention to those toes. Please. Don't wear them. Closed until you get to the pedicure. Anyway, how you dress and how you present yourself is huge. It absolutely is. The next thing I want to talk about there is your attitude. We forget that our attitude is going to actually get us jobs. It's actually going to get us work. When someone asks me, how's the market? I am never negative. I am absolutely positively not going to lie. But the first thing that I say, it's a great time to be a homeowner. Home ownership, we know in history, is the best investment you can make with your money for your life. It's the best long-term investment you could ever make. There's some really great opportunities out there today. What about interest rates? There's ways to get around that. You want to talk about it? I'd love to help you. I'm so glad that you ran into me today. Check your attitude. You have days where it sucks and you don't want to show up. You're got in a fight with your husband, your dog crapped on the floor, your cat spit up a loogie in the kitchen and you stepped in it. You're going to have those days where you're like, it absolutely sucks. But to be really good in sales, you have to have a turn on switch where you become the positive, helpful, warm person that you need to be to actually sell real estate. Because guess what? Nobody wants to work with you if you're posting on your Facebook about how sick you've been this week and how your husband's a jerk. Oh my God, do not put your personal stuff about your relationships on your Facebook. I have a son right now who is making me mad. I'll just be honest. He's disappointing me in his behavior. That's not going on my Facebook. It's not going out there to the world. As far as the world knows, I've got it and I've got it together and I can do my job, right? You have to check your attitude. You have to pause. I'm a big believer in Heather meditation because no one ever trained me how. But I know that before I'm going to teach a class, before I'm going to meet a colleague, before I'm going to go into an appointment, that I am going to take at least 60 seconds to breathe, to get myself in order, to ground myself where I am before I go in and attack those. And sometimes that first 30 seconds is letting go of crap that happened before I got to the appointment. A lot of times it is. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, people. We all have crap in our lives and things that we've had to do and deal with. All of us do. You would be shocked right now, even in this room, the struggles that people are going through in their lives today. I get to know a lot of them. I teach real estate pre-license. I no less than 60 to 70 pre-licensed students every 10 weeks. I have, almost 80 now in our downline, and there's things I know that the public wouldn't know about them. Sometimes their stuff brings me down, but I know to be the best for them and to be the best for my clients and to be the best Heather that the world deserves, I have to be able to turn that off sometimes. I have to be able to take a deep breath. Going to a listing appointment and telling them about your dog crapping on the floor, oh my God, don't do that. Please don't ever do that. When you go to a listing appointment, that you're there to help, you're there to be warm, you're there to be kind, and you're going in with an attitude of gratitude for the opportunity to be there. Check your attitude, please, before the appointment. The next thing, another reason that I would have gotten kicked out of Coldwell Banker Mountain West, bless his heart, rest in peace, Peter Rogers. Those of you that knew him and loved him or hated him, the man was brilliant. He really was. And sometimes Liz is agreeing, he really was. I could go into all the reasons not to like him, but I know a lot of reasons to love him and how he kind of molded me as a confident real estate broker. That man would go out into the parking lot at Coldwell Banker Mountain West Real Estate, and you would be scared to death, because what was he going to do? He is going to look at your car, and in it, I would see him out there looking in at his car and walking back in and yelling to the whole room, who the hell is out there with all the shit on the floor in the front of the car? He went there, sorry, filter, sorry. He'd be like, don't park that thing in my driveway. Get out there and get it out of this, get it out of here. Guys, you don't have to be driving a BMW to get a listing. You don't have to be driving a big fancy new Jeep, which I'd like to be, but I'm not. You can be driving a Ford Escape that's clean, that smells good, because there's a really rare chance, but it can happen that someone will get in your car. A lot more chance that when you're in your car, someone's going to talk to you while you're in your car, but always show up shining with that car. We are lucky where we live. I have friends and colleagues up in northern Idaho, and it's a little bit tougher up there for them because of all the snow and the debris and the road garbage that happens. But even if I'm doing real estate full-time in North Idaho, I'm still going to make sure my car's as clean as it can possibly be. It sounds weird, but people will judge you. If you show up at a dirty, yucky car in a really nice neighborhood and park it in front of a house to take a listing appointment, when they see you getting in and out of it, if it's a dirty BMW, me and my Ford Escort are going to have better impression in the neighborhood and with the seller because mine's clean. It really truly sounds silly, but it can make a difference. When I was rewriting my notes this morning, I thought of something else, and I didn't know where to put it in this whole thing that we're doing. So I threw it in right here. The other thing that I want to say to you is the attire. I'm sorry, the signage. Your signage in front of your house can also make a big difference. There's some people that are putting in the little, yard sale signs with the little tiny for sale or whatever. Guys, spend money on good signage. Make sure that it's big and bright and stands out. Spend money on the bigger, nicer stakes. Am I saying that wrong, Jessica? What are those called?
They're colonial posts, or they're just yard posts.
Yeah, just your yard posts. They are worth every penny. I bought some recently, and yeah, they're expensive. They're $100 to $120 for those stinking things, but they last forever and they look beautiful. I put my sign up at that McNary listing. Reflective signs. Yeah, I love that, Christine. I put it up at the listing, and my husband's like, okay, let's go. It's pouring rain. No, I've got a washcloth in my car and I start wiping down the sign, making sure there's no mud from when we dug the hole to get it in. I want that sign to shine just as much as I want my first impression when you meet me to shine. I think that that's huge. So that's just something else I wanted to throw out there for you guys today. Have really good, nice, professional signage. Okay. Next, Jessica. Yeah, someone says reorder to keep them fresh. I told Jessica and my in it to win it slide, I wanted puppies. I wanted dogs. And of course she gives me baby Rottweilers. I love it. You're going to laugh. What do dogs have to do with listing appointments? Well, let me tell you. We're going to get to that. When you're going to we're going to get into the real good stuff now. When you're going to the listing appointment, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late. You knew 30 to 45 minutes before you got there, you were going to be late if you're going to be late. Traffic happens, you guys. I get it. We had a big train broke down in Salem last year. It caused, yesterday, caused all kinds of chaos in town. Schools were having kids showing up a half hour, 45 minutes late. We knew that was going to happen. We knew that, yeah, that's going to make us late getting where we're going. We've had shutdowns on I-5 up and down the entire state of Oregon this week, which I don't understand why we're having so many big wrecks on the freeway, but we are. Things will happen. If you're going to be late and you know it, the minute you know it, call and let them know. So if you're stuck on the freeway and your appointment's not for 25, 30 minutes and you're like, oh man, I don't think I'm going to make it if I sit here 5 more, call your client and let them know, hey, you know, there's an accident. I'm stuck in traffic. Your time is precious. I know it's important to me to respect it, but I'm really stuck right now. I can't get out of here, but I'm coming. But really, truly, if you're going to a listing appointment, be 5 minutes early. That said, don't be too early and don't knock on the door 5 minutes early. What? You just told me to be early, and now you're telling me don't knock on the door 5 minutes early. I'm going to tell you why. Most sellers aren't ready for you to be there. They're in a panic. They're running around with that laundry basket, picking up crap that got left out, or they're trying to get the smell out of the house because their husband just smoked a cigarette, walked through to the garage, you know, whatever. There's reasons. You don't want to cause them stress by being early, but I want to be 5 minutes early, and this is why. When I get there, the very first thing I do is I sit in my car for a second. I do my breathing. I do my getting ready Heather meditation, and then I get out of my car and I assess the neighborhood. I assess the other homes around it. Is there anything that I missed? Is there a for sale sign that went up yesterday that I didn't see? The agent hasn't even gotten an MLS. I have a few minutes right then to look up that information. What if there's a seller across the street and every other house is nice, but this house is absolutely a mess? There's garbage everywhere. There's broken down cars. There's 50 cars. Those kind of things are going to affect my marketing of that property, right? They're things that are going to have to be addressed. By the way, I do address neighbors. A neighbor like that, I will, once I have the listing, go and knock on the door. And with all the grace in the world, I'll say to them, hi, I'm Larry and Sarah's real estate broker. We're getting their house on the market this week. And one of the things that I like to do is let all the neighbors know first. I'm going to be doing open houses and those things, and I'd love for you to come. But I want to tell you, I would love for you to have the ability to pick your new neighbor. So if you know anyone who's thinking about buying in our area, here's my card. I just wanted to let you know. By the way, and that's when I will bring up the debris or the issues. One of the things that's going to help make sure you get a new neighbor is making sure that all of the yards and homes around are kept up. And it looks like you're really overwhelmed right now. I know that can happen. And I want to let you know also that I do have some people that I know that can help with these kind of things. In fact, I would like to, and I've done this, you guys, I would like to put $100 towards a cleanup. So if you let me know, I can put $100, so $25 for a dump trip, or to put gas in your car. I've done that before. And I've had people be so appreciative of that. Most of the time, people don't enjoy their messy yards. Now, if it's a meth house, guess what? Even people on meth are nice sometimes. Most of the time they are. They're really happy people, I guess. But anyway, I have done that before, and it does absolutely make a difference. But I'm not going to do that before the listing appointment. But I know that it's something I'm probably going to have to address with the seller at one point. Okay. It may be that the seller may say, you know what? I know them. I'll run over and talk to them today. We'll see what we can do. We can fix that problem. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around and look at the house. I'm going to assess the property. I'm going to look at the roof. I'm going to look at the windows. What I really want to look at is the curb appeal. My beautiful new listing in McNary had one of those big sunshines that they put on houses in Arizona. You guys know the ones I'm talking about. They're really cool. But this house has been freshly painted, and that sunshine thing was rusted. It looked yucky. I knew right then that one of the things later when we're talking about staging is I probably want to go ahead and have them remove it. It's a bit of an eyesore. It's drawing people's eyes there. I'm going to assess the front porch. You know, I'm probably going to recommend later that they maybe paint the door or put some color spots in or a new mat, those kinds of things. But I can actually get a good feel for the curb appeal while I'm there, you know, doing that meditation and taking that breath. Okay. Next thing is right on time, I'm going to be knocking on the door. When that seller meets you at that door, they're going to be exasperated. They're going to be a little bit nervous. They're going to be struggling a little bit. They always are, because guess what? They're inviting someone in that's going to judge them. That's all they can think about. Your job at that moment is to make them more comfortable. And this is where we're going to get into the puppies. I love this. So when you first walk into the home, their inclination is to go sit down with you at the kitchen table and start talking about commission and figures and facts. Stop that. Don't let that happen, because then they're running the show and you don't want that to happen. The very first thing I ask them is, can I set my things down on the table? And I would love it if you could actually give me a tour of your home. And while you're giving me that tour, I want you to tell me and remember why it was the one when you bought it. What about it and the features made you go, wait a minute, I think this could be it, Larry. Larry, we've looked at 30 homes and this one, I think it's going to be it. I want you to show me that. And while we're walking through, I'm going to take notes. And I'd also like you to tell me things you've upgraded or changed since you bought the home. A lot of sellers actually forget about things unless they're doing that walkthrough. But here we go to the puppies. I was sitting here early one Sunday morning watching TV. And if you guys ever heard of a dog trainer named Cesar Milan, I don't even know if he's still doing it, because this was quite a while ago. And I was watching it, and he was talking about how you introduce a new puppy to the pack. You're getting a new puppy at your house or a new dog that you're adopting, and you have 2 or 3 already at home. And you know, when you bring that new dog and introduce them, the 2 that live there are going to get super nervous, super aggressive. Dogs show it differently than people, but believe me, those sellers and their kids and their husbands, they do want to bite you. There's something in them that feels like you're interfering in their lives and their world, somewhere instinctually anyway, deep in their what do you call it, Neanderthal brain. They don't like that you're there. Well, Cesar did something, and it was like a huge light bulb moment for me. He said that whenever you're introducing a new dog into the pack, you walk them together and give them a common purpose. This is huge, and it works every single time. When they're taking you on that walk through that property, you can watch your seller relax. You can watch them take breaths, and suddenly that person that you met that was nervous and exasperated at the phone or at the front door is actually talking to you with purpose, and they're excited. And you can see the things that they love about the home, and then you can ask them questions, but not a lot. Your job on the walkthrough is to make them comfortable, but to let them talk, because what they're telling you and the features about the home are really, really important too. Okay. As you get back to the kitchen, because it seems like every house tour ends at the kitchen, right? I mean, that's why we put cookies and flyers in the kitchen at open houses. Everybody kind of circles around the outer perimeters of the house and they settle down into the kitchen. When you get back to the kitchen, another golden nugget. How do I get the torch? How do I become in control of what next could be an uncomfortable discussion for them and for me? Usually when you get back to the kitchen, you haven't seen the backyard yet. So this is what I do. I give us all a minute and I say to the seller, you know what? I do need to take a look at the backyard. Is there any dogs or any hazards out there? Because I don't want you to come with me. I would love it if you could get me a glass of water. Sounds weird. I don't need water. I don't want to drink a water, but it gives them a few minutes to get themselves together and their bearings. I know that they're getting that water for me and they're going, oh my God, I can't believe I told her all that as we're walking through. How did she get me to open up about those things I wasn't going to really talk to her about? They're kind of getting their bearings and kind of, getting grounded. I'm going into the backyard. I'm still working. I'm looking at the siding. I'm looking at the windows. I'm looking at the foundation. I'm looking at the roof. I'm still working, but at the same time, they're getting that very much needed minute. And when I come back in, guys, that physical act of handing me that glass of water gives me the microphone. It truly does. It's a weird phenomenon, but trust me, it works, because I take that glass of water and I invite everyone to sit down. And that's when we start going into the actual reasons that they're selling. Number one, don't make the mistake of not asking that question, by the way. And then their plans, where they're going to go, what they'd like to see, what their goal is. I'm actually not going to get into the actual CMA presentation. We don't have time, and we've done that a million times. But what I want you to remember there is the sandwich technique. When you very first sit down, the very first thing you need to do is start off with a compliment. And do make sure that one of those compliments includes one of the things they said was important to them when they were walking you through the house. Grandpa's shelving that he put in, the bathroom addition that they added. You're going to compliment them in that work right away before you get into the meat. So that'd be the bread. Now you've got the meat. And then, of course, we know the other piece of bread is finishing with a compliment as well, right? The actual appointment. Okay. Don't make the mistake of talking about yourself too much. It's important that you give a very short presentation on who you are and how long you've been in real estate and EXP. You guys, you can go into the marketing center in Enterprise, and there's some great listing presentations in there. If you haven't looked at them, they're free. You can purchase some, but go in there and look at them. When I'm bringing a paper, listing presentation, though, I don't bring all 60 pages. Oh my God, not even close, because I know they don't, the general public, they don't care about EXP as much as we do. They want to know that we're a licensed, reputable real estate company. Of course, they're going to want to know a little bit about us. Do you guys remember my intro at the beginning? It really needs to look like that. I know for a fact half of you would have walked away to go get a cup of coffee if I would have went on and on and on and on about what I've done or accomplished in my real estate career. What they really care about is you caring about them, of you telling them that you can sell that home, that your intention is to give the highest and the very best service that first time. That's what they want to know when you sit down with them at that listing appointment. Okay. You're going to go ahead and discuss with them a couple of things. For me, and this is all individual, I'm going to make sure I talk about professional photography. I'm going to make sure that I talk to them about professional verbiage. I am going to make sure that I talk about the benefits of working with a realtor. We kind of talked about at the beginning, that access to the other almost 18, 20,000 realtors in the MLS who are already working with qualified buyers. I'm going to talk to them about enhanced marketing. All of these things I'm definitely going to cover, but very quickly. I don't want you guys let them ask questions. Don't go on and on and on about how great you are. Don't be a bragger. Don't be, that person, because they don't really care. Because right now the kids are hungry and they aren't being quiet. The dog needs to go on his walk. They want to get on with their day. They really just want to know who you are, that you care, and that you can sell that home. Okay. Next, I want to cover, we're doing okay on time, commission objections. Guys, we all have had to deal with them. And part of the reason that it becomes a big deal, it's you. It's your fault. That's why it becomes a big deal. Here's the thing. You may get someone bringing up the fact that so-and-so will do it for this percentage. So I'm going to throw we're not allowed, by the way, to talk about commission charges or percentages because we have people here who are not with EXP as guests. So I want to make sure you understand that. So I'm going to use some really weird figures, but let's say that I list properties generally at 15%. I don't, but I'm just going to say that. And so-and-so told this seller that they would list the property at 12 or 10 or 5. And they're like, why should I list for more with you than I am with them? I will tell them exactly this. There's a lot of discount brokers in our world right now. They're desperate for a paycheck. They need your listing. They're desperate for the listing. But what I want to tell you is that I wouldn't want to discount, just like if I was going into that surgery, the most important, most valuable asset in my life. At EXP, we are not a discount company. We give our highest and best every time. I want to ask you this. Real estate brokers work on commission only. They don't get paid at all, including me as the lister of your house, until that transaction closes. Okay. If I'm willing to discount myself, my value, and my marketing to you right now, that's my most valuable asset right now on this table. If I'm willing to discount me, how good am I going to be at negotiating the highest and best for you when we actually get into negotiations with a buyer? And then I move on. I don't keep talking about it. I move right on. And I talk to them about the next most important things, which is getting that listing contract signed. Let's do this. I move into, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to selling your house. I can't wait for the professional photography. I can't wait to show this to the other 18,000 real estate brokers in the MLS. I would love to sell your house myself. That is my number one goal when we leave, is for me to find a buyer. The reality is, highest and best for you is that I work with other real estate brokers in the industry. By the way, some of those discount brokers take the discounted commission, but don't discount themselves. They discount buyer's agents. They're taking your listing for 10%, but they're only offering 2 to the buyer's agents. A lot of sellers don't understand how that works. If you're a buyer and you're out showing property and there's homes that are offering you half that commission and there's others that are offering you less, which ones are you going to show first? Sellers can understand that. And then I move on. I don't keep talking about it. I don't pause. That's the first place, guys. I do not pause and look for feedback. I do not pause to listen to more objection. I simply move on to what services I'm going to provide. And once again, I'm the one who wants to sell their home just as much as they do, or almost as much as we can do. Jeff says, just drive right past that objection. And that's what I do. Okay. Lastly, Jessica, the next slide. The follow-up. The number one biggest mistake we make as real estate professionals, whether it's a listing or a buyer or someone we've met on the street or at a barbecue or whatnot, is that we don't follow up on those conversations. The gold is in the follow-up. Guys, when I leave that listing appointment and I've got my sign in the yard and I'm driving away, and maybe I don't always win right away, but most of the time, if I don't, this does win it for me. Guess what I have in my car? a basket with thank you cards already stamped, ready to rock and roll. And I sit there in that neighborhood, I pull down the street, I look for the neighborhood mailbox, and I write a really quick thank you handwritten card to them for the opportunity to list their home, or the opportunity to be considered to list their home, that I really enjoyed meeting them. Their dog George was the cutest thing I ever saw in my life. I absolutely love the upgrades that they did in the backyard. And thank you so much for the recommendation of the restaurant down the street. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll be following up with you again soon. I drop that in the mailbox before I leave the neighborhood. It generally will take about 2 days for it to get there. I know that can happen. Sometimes I'll drive it to the post office if it's nearby, because then it usually gets there the next day. But do it immediately. Don't wait. Have those thank you cards ready. And those of you that are guys out there who are like, oh, that's fluff. Guess what? I've had men that I mentor that started doing that have called me and said, Heather, I think that damn thank you card got me the listing. I've had that happen. The next thing, follow up with a phone call. When you made a promise to find out information for them, call them back the same day. You know, I thank you so much for meeting with me this afternoon. I told you I was going to check on that house down the street. I did get that information. I won't keep you long, but I wanted to let you know it actually sold for $475. It closed in October, which is really interesting. And I just wanted to follow up and follow through. I definitely didn't want to drop the ball on that. And then with your then make sure you mention the next time they're going to be hearing from you. I'm going to give you a call tomorrow, because I know the second that I left this appointment, you probably had more questions. Write them down, because I'd love to follow up with you tomorrow and make sure you get all the answers to everything that you need. Right? Send the thank you card and do the follow-up call. You have to do it. If it's someone who's like, I'm not going to be ready for a couple months or a couple weeks, get them added to your sphere list and make sure that you're showing up in their world every week. Maybe you're doing a drive-by in your farm and you're dropping off little tulips right now in the spring, or from get-me-not cards. Make sure you stop at that house too. Make sure that you're continuing to show up in their world. Okay, that's all I have. I hope that I gave you guys some great, we can stop the share. I hope I gave you guys some great things to think about. We do have a few minutes for questions. If you have them, I'm here and I'm happy to answer. And I know Jessica can as well, coming from a newer agent perspective. So ask away, you guys, or offer your own tips. You know, Christine, I love her. She can always throw in some, you know, assistance or kind of her feelings on subjects. I love it.
Heather, while people are thinking of their questions, I just have to say this was terrific content today. Like, absolutely spot on. I love that. What's beautiful about a call like this one is that you can get so many different perspectives, right? Like, we had Ramon Casals come on here, and it's like, if you bench press more, you'll take more listings. And then you have like a much more relational approach. But by the way, if you guys want to go check it out, Heather does just fine in real estate, like top 1% producer. And so how does that happen? Well, the truth of the matter is your approach is so deeply relational, and it understands the psychology of what's really driving a seller. And that's what I love about this, is like, you understand that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. But sending that little thank you card is not a little thing to the person who receives it, right? It seems non-consequential or inconsequential, whatever that word is, to you, but as the sender, as the recipient, that's the only one they got. Somebody just put it in the chat, but I don't know if you saw that. Like Emily, I think, said that she got a listing because out of 4 other agents, nobody sent a thank you card. Yeah. And there it was. Got it done, right? Like that kind of thing. It's the small stuff that makes a humongous difference. And I would love to hear from some folks. What kind of questions do you have? You've got 2 top superstar real estate agents here who are willing to answer how they're taking so many listings, even in this market, right? Well, there's no inventory, really? Maybe they've got it all. So what questions do you guys have out there?
None. Maybe I taught them everything.
You did it. You nailed it. First try. Come on, somebody hit us with a question.
Who's got a listing appointment this week?
First question gets a free trip to Puerto Rico. Let's go. Just kidding. Who we got?
Yes, so I'm starting definitely to see sellers, you know, inquiring, you know, what's my home worth? Maybe looking, this is the usual time, spring, sun happens one day. Oh, I should really get my house ready. Oh, we're thinking about selling. Rain comes back, sun comes back, rain comes back, sun comes up. This is a very common time that we see that. What are you seeing as far as when sellers reach out to you, their timing that they're looking at right now of trying to get on market?
What I see every time is, oh, I'm not ready yet. It's going to be a month or two. I'm like, hey, you know what? I have some time open. Either this is another sales technique. I have time on Thursday at 1 or Friday morning at 10. Which time can I swing by? If I know that they have a job that they work full time during the day, I'll say, oh, you know what? I have time on Friday evening at 5:30. I could stop by just for a quick walkthrough, or Saturday I can actually come by as well at 11. Which time works for you? I do that to get in the door. And then almost always right now, Christine, what I'm seeing is the timeline goes from a couple months to urgency. I went to a listing appointment with a new licensee last week, and the gentleman explained that he was really didn't want to sell or move until June. And as we're walking out, leaving that appointment, I looked at her and I said, you know what? His timeline's going to come a lot faster. You need to get ready. Let's start calling photographers, finding out when they're available. Let's go ahead and do some of this, getting that paperwork ready for him to sign. And sure enough, Monday morning hit and Jerica calls me. She may be here today or Tuesday and says, Heather, he wants to move this up. We got photography going in next week. I mean, that's what I'm seeing right now. Because one of the things that I present this time of year at listing appointments is that the time to get on the market, less competition is today. Because at least here in Northwest Oregon, we haven't gotten our super warm, sunny weather. We get this weird phenomena where we go from freezing at night to all of a sudden it's 75 and 80 degrees during the day. It's a weird thing that happens here. But we don't want to wait for that to happen, because the second that happens, guess where people go? They're looking at what else is out there. They're trying to figure out the value of their home, those kind of things. Joanne, I hear Joanne has a question.
Hi, we were just wondering, how do you handle when your CMA and their price that they want is not the same, and how do you work them through that? And you just list it whatever they want, or how do you manage that?
Great question. By the way, look at all those people. Good morning, Southern Oregon. I love it. So how do I handle that? Well, guess what? Most of people have done that research before we've even gotten there. They want to get the same price Larry got for their home. They don't understand the differences in that square footage that can make, the differences in upgrades that they can't see. So again, one of the things is getting that neighborhood knowledge and information before I even go to them. And then I tell them, my job here today is to help you come to an educated decision on how we price your home. My job is to make sure you understand how this process works. We would absolutely love to have cash buyers that are willing to pay more than what the comps show is allowable, right? That's my goal. Every house I list, I'm like, cash buyer over asking, no inspections, absolutely my goal. But the reality is even cash buyers are going to do similar to what buyers that are getting a loan are doing. And that's doing a CMA, a market analysis, and letting the actual market, those comps, speak for them. So Joanne, what I do is I bring them back to that CMA and I show them, and I'll tell them, okay, now digging down in that onion, you're asking me to list your home at $278 a square foot. Let's go back and look at the comps that I can support your sale with that an appraiser is going to be looking at. Hold on here. I've got them right here. I'm going to bring those back out and I'm going to show them, okay, I found one close. It's at $268 a square foot. Let's look at this one. Oh, it's got a brand new roof. Oh, they just upgraded the HVAC system. Oh, they have vaulted ceilings and 2 gas fireplaces. Okay, I want to sell your house at $278 a square foot. How soon can you get those things done? That's how I do it, Joanne. And then suddenly they're like, oh.
Love it. How soon can you get those things done? That's
yeah,
awesome.
how soon can you get that done? I know people. I can get them in here. We can get that gas fireplace installed. Let's do it. I'm down. Let's do it. That's how I do it. Scott,
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, because I can't see everyone. Scott has his hand up.
Mine was just to back up something that you already said and something that I do a lot because I have a lot of sellers right now that are telling me, they always say 2 to 6 months or 3 to 6 months. And we always know this old rule. It's like you kind of cut that in half. But right now I start going over a timeline with them because what most sellers do not start thinking about is the time it takes to actually get something closed, right? So if you even talk about an average days on market, I'm not, you can tell them, hey, our average days on market right now is whatever it is. Say it's 25 days and say we do a better job and get it sold in 15 days or 10 days. Then we have probably most likely a 45-day escrow. You're talking 2 months until you get a paycheck and are able to go somewhere. And that's almost June. So it's like, you said you wanted to sell in June, you need to start doing it now. It's like, they don't really get that whole process and what the real timelines are. And that's how I pretty much get them, to be like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to go. We need to they get urgent quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Zoe, can you talk? I need some Zoe energy. I see that you commented, but we need to hear your voice because Zoe energies, everyone needs Zoe every day.
Yeah, I can talk. All I was saying is that something else to consider in CMAs, because I do them quite often. For example, if somebody's wanting to sell one of their new construction homes within a short period of time, for whatever reason, their circumstances have changed, right? And you're comparing it to the same floor plan, but you have to compare it to the new sale comps. Some of the things to consider, for example, like DR Horton is giving concessions right now. Some of them are up to $12,000 in closing costs, and that can make the difference between you getting the significantly higher sale price versus what they actually have it listed at the moment.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
I love that
Thank you,
point.
Zoe.
You know what's really neat about that is that there's resourcefulness built into that conceptually. It's like I'm demonstrating market knowledge. It's like what you said, Heather, when you're like, absolutely, that makes total sense. We could get you that price per square foot, but we're going to need to do X, Y, and Z. And we know it's probably things that they don't want to do, or maybe even can't do on their property. But that's also demonstrating deep market knowledge. And I think whenever you're showing the client that you have actual market knowledge, it's part of your resume. It's like a demonstrated resume at the kitchen table or the dining room table or wherever you're hanging out, right? And by the way, to the earlier point, I know I wear lots of hats and like hoodies, wore suits at all of my listing appointments. And so, this is how you show up. I wanted to go back to that earlier point just to like give an amen to Heather on that. You make a first impression and you have less than 2 seconds, and that person will decide if they're hiring you or not hire, or at least if they're willing to move forward with this consideration in the first 2 seconds. And most of that's nonverbal. You're not like spitting out 6 paragraphs in 2 seconds. So they're making flash judgments based on your, whether or not you've shaved, if you're a guy, whether or not and that's not to say that you need to look or be a certain way, but it is to say that humans are built to assess a situation and then literally decide if I'm in or if I should fight or flight, right? Yeah. And if they make a fight or flight decision because you look like a, I don't know, an MMA fighter or a homeless person or nothing against any of that, but I'm just saying, like, if they drop it into a box that for them triggers fear, right? Let's put it that way. That's a much better and more PC way to put that. If the box that they put you in their brain triggers fear or fight or flight for them, you're done. They may listen to you for 30 minutes or an hour. They're still done.
But they've closed down. And on that note, I do want to add one thing. If I'm going to go out and list a farm property or a vineyard, I'm not going to probably wear a suit and heels.
I agree.
I will wear, by the way, I will wear something nice too there, of course, but I'm probably going to wear jeans and a sweater and a nice jacket. And I may have some shoes on, but I have been known to wear those and then march around to the back of my car and open it up and pull out the mud boots. I mean, I have. Or take them with me to the door and set them down. While I go in the house, I'm going to wear my nicer shoes. But when we get out to walk the property or look at the barn or those things, I'm going to switch into my mud boots. That's common sense. And I do want to say that in that case, but even when you're going out to list the farm, you don't need to wear a zip up sweatshirt and a dirty t-shirt. You just don't. You can dress nicer than that. I think Chad said something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say earlier in my career I didn't realize it, but I'm 6'4" and I've got a really mean looking face. Didn't dawn on me in the beginning, but I was freaking people out right in the very beginning. I'm looking down. I'm pleasant, but the first impression, and so I have learned to step back. I stand back 2-3 steps. I make sure that I'm smiling when they open the door, and I keep smiling until we get through that first 30 seconds or so. Because if I don't do that, I am mean
dominating.
guy.
You literally are scary in that way. I love that perspective, because as a woman, we don't have to deal with that so much. We're not super intimidating usually. I bet that's something that you fellas really do have to think about. Thank you, Chad. I'm definitely going to add that to my training stuff. I appreciate that. Thank you for speaking up.
Yeah, I think if you're scary, you're probably unlikely to produce a happy result. You just got to be relational on some level. I find, by the way, for guys, this is a thing that's really hard for us because we don't think about it very often unless you're a super high eye on the disc, is smile. It doesn't have to be like a crazy smile, you're not like on a roller coaster, but just a pleasant smile on your face. A little bit of activation in the cheeks goes a really long way and makes you look less threatening. Because if you look threatening, I promise you they are not moving toward you. And especially if you're in the house with like somebody who could be an older person, maybe a woman who wants to feel safe and comfortable, you can also, by the way, offer to, hey, would you like to sit out on the front porch? Or hey, do you have would you like to chat out in the front yard? I've done that before. If I can tell that there's a comfort barrier there that needs to be established or preserved, I think that's really important. Heather, this stuff today has been absolute fire. This is one of my favorites on this topic. I absolutely love it. Not surprised. It's probably why you do so much dang business.
Well, I am just appreciative to get it out there, because the reality is, the better real estate broker you are, the less you discount yourselves and your value, the better I am, because I'm not getting discounted and you see my value too. So if you're out there thinking about taking that discounted listing, please think of me. Do you really want to do that to me? When you're out there showing up with your crappy shoes and your holy clothes at an open house and you have your EXP name tag on, will you please think of me? I mean, that's really what it boils down to, you guys. We all have the ability to elevate this company and ourselves or not. And I please choose to elevate me. Thank you. Thank you.
So as we're wrapping up really quick, I just have to mention, because we've got everyone here, it's still that we have a number of events coming up, and I wanted to make sure everyone was familiar with what's happening. By the way, if you're not a member, come join us anyway. Talk to the person who invited you here today. Maybe they want to hang out with you. At the end of this month, this may be a little too soon for some of you, but there are some last minute tickets. We still have the Cabo 23 event available down in Cabo, San Lucas, Mexico, for a week, a mastermind, talking about growth, talking about supporting agents, super high level stuff. Love that. If you're into leadership, that's a great event for you. We've got EXP Summit coming up. That's going to be a huge deal in Orlando, Florida, May 18th through 20th. Really big thing. And we've got that on the communitycenter.com. If you need to register, get on there. Let's make it happen. We do have the Build event in San Antonio in July 10 through 12 happening. Again, growth, mastermind, leadership, and then our big national conference, which is EXPCon in October, the 2nd through 5th at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. We're going to party. There's a huge swimming pool there. It looks like you're at the ocean. It's super fun in the middle of the desert. Gotta love that. Plus, if you want to go lose some money in the casino like a big dumb dummy, you can do it. So it's a good time for everybody, and there's plenty of shows. I think that's all I've got for right now. Heather, any parting words for everybody?
Yes, one more thing. I will be teaching contracts again today at 11 o'clock. Please join us. If you don't have the link, it's not in the community Zoom. I'm actually talking and teaching, collaborating with other experienced agents on how to write out the contingencies, but also how to actually fill out a sale agreement. So again, that is at 11. If you need the link, message Jessica or I, and we'll get it over.
And that is for Oregon agents.
Yeah, Oregon only, sorry. But honestly, you know what? Agents from other worlds can actually use some of that advice as well. So if you want to be a guest from another state, join us. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I love you guys. I love EXP. That's a whole other Core 90 I want to talk about someday. But you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Happy spring, and thank you for coming today.
Thanks, Heather.